Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to show you one of my all-time favorite ThinkPad models, Lenovo ThinkPad T14 Generation 1. This model was released on the market in 2020 and it was in production between 2020 and 2021. Even as of today, this is a great laptop that you can get for a really good price as a second-hand item. Let me show you the hardware in more details. The model is named T14 because it is a 14-inch laptop from ThinkPad T series lineup. It features a sleek professional chassis made from durable magnesium alloy. My unit comes with a UK keyboard layout, complete with backlight and a large enter key for comfortable typing. As indicated by the sticker, it is powered by Intel i5 processor. ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is available with AMD or Intel CPU. This particular unit that I have here is with Intel i5 CPU. It has 16 gigabytes RAM soldered on the main board, and there are some other versions of T14 Generation 1 with less RAM, for example 8 gigabytes soldered to the main board. However, ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 has the advantage that it has an extra slot for extending the RAM memory. So in this particular model I have done an upgrade and I have in total 24 gigabytes of RAM. I know all of you are interested in the connectors, so let's have a closer look at them. So on this side we have a smart card reader, USB 3.2 Generation 1 which is always on, RJ45 connector for Ethernet. This is how you connect the ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 to your local area network and to the internet with a cable. And finally we have Kensington security slot. There are more and more interesting connectors on the other side. We have a USB-C 3.2 Generation 1 which is also used to power the laptop from appropriate power supply. Next to it we have USB-C 3.2 Generation 2 which is also Thunderbolt 3 capable. After that we have side docking connector. Next to it we have USB 3.2 Generation 1. Next to it we have HDMI 1.4B connector, and we also have a headphone/microphone combo jack with size of 3.5 millimeters. Finally, we have a micro SD card reader. That's not all. One more thing. On the back we have a nano SIM card for the GSM modem. However, this is optional and not present on all versions of T14. The keyboard is pretty nice. It features 6 rows, it is spill resistant and has multimedia FN keys with unified communications control. Depending on the version of the keyboard, there are models of ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 with LED backlight and without it. This particular model that I have here is with LED backlight that can be controlled from the FN key and space. Typically, as on pretty much all ThinkPad models, T14 Generation 1 features both track point and trackpad for controlling the mouse. Here is a closer look at the camera, which features another ThinkPad specific feature, the so-called Think Shutter, which allows you to decide whether to turn on the camera or to turn it off physically by sliding the shutter. From the user's perspective, this is one of these small but really nice security features. ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is equipped with Dolby Audio speaker system, and actually the sound is pretty good, better than most of the other ThinkPads that I have tried. The speaker is located above the keyboard. Just for a reference, if we compare it to ThinkPad T14S Generation 1, this T14 has a better sound because the speaker is on the front, while on T14S the speakers are on the back. As I mentioned, I bought this ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 as a second-hand item, but it was in amazingly good condition. Even the protective film is on the power on button, so I've removed it for this video. The model of the laptop, T14, is written on the right lower corner below the screen. As usual, more information is available on the back cover of the laptop. There is a label that says ThinkPad T14 Generation 1. This particular unit was imported from the UK, so it has the UKCA mark. There's also information about the power consumption. I'm using this particular laptop with an official Lenovo ThinkPad power supply that provides 65 watts. As you have seen, there are a lot of connectors, so as a result, Lenovo ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is slightly heavier compared to the slim model known as T14S Generation 1. I have reviewed it in another video. So the weight of this ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is about 1.5 kilograms. If you have watched my previous videos about ThinkPads, you know that I'm fascinated by the firmware options available on these laptops. ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is not an exception, so we have all these cool options, for example to disable the built-in battery temporarily while we're doing repairs or upgrades, and also we have the tools to check the hardware from the firmware without booting an operating system. I have covered these in my other videos in more detail, so here we're gonna have just a quick sneak peek. Immediately after turning on the T14 Generation 1, hit enter, and from the BIOS settings menu either press F1 to enter BIOS or F10 to run the diagnostics. The UEFI BIOS supports both text and graphical user mode. I personally prefer the text mode. Thanks to the magic of modern technologies and to save your time, I've increased 8 times the speed of this part of the video. With the diagnostics, you can test any part of the hardware of your laptop. For example, in the video, I tested the display. One more thing about the hardware. Lenovo ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is equipped with TPM20, which means that it's compatible with the latest versions of Microsoft Windows. And out of the box, I bought this T14 as a second-hand item a few years ago with Microsoft Windows. However, I'm an open source enthusiast, so I quickly wiped it out and installed instead a Linux distribution. I'm an Ubuntu user, so I have on it Ubuntu 24.04, which at the moment is the supported long-term support release. My Lenovo ThinkPad T14 boots to the login screen of Ubuntu in about 25 seconds. This is the time from physically pressing the power button on the laptop to the login screen where I have to select my user and type in my password. This is pretty much a stock Ubuntu. I haven't installed that much software and I'm using the system pretty much as it is, so there is room for improvements if you're looking for a faster boot time. After logging in with my user, I've opened the terminal application and I've executed a couple of commands to check the software versions. First, I checked the Linux kernel version. At the moment, this computer is running with Linux kernel 6.11. And the Ubuntu version is, as I've already mentioned, 24.04 LTS. Nowadays, Ubuntu comes with the GNOME desktop environment. I have done some very minor customizations of the graphical user interface. It's not even worth mentioning them in this video. As you can see, I also opened the settings application. It has a nice graphical user interface. From it, I checked the system configuration. It matches what we have already seen in the BIOS. And I also opened the settings applications and went to the display options. So you can see that the resolution of this particular display on T14 Generation 1 is Full HD. Or if we have to say it in another words, the resolution is 1920 by 1080 pixels. The type of the display of my T14 Generation 1 is IPS and there is no multi-touch. Cheaper versions of T14 Generation 1 are coming with HD ready resolution and Type TN matrix. However, it's very rare to find such cheaper models, and it's also possible to get an IPS matrix with Full HD that supports multi-touch. If you're going to buy a second-hand T14 Generation 1, just keep in mind that there are different options for the display and double check the display of the unit that you're planning to buy. ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is aging really well. I think it is almost the perfect laptop for engineers and developers. It has a 14-inch screen, which makes it really compact, and yet it has so many different connectors, including an Ethernet port and a Thunderbolt 3 port, which allows you to connect it to an appropriate docking station and use external monitors on your desk. By the way, I have a separate video discussing Thunderbolt 3 docking station with this laptop. Another advantage, and actually it's a huge advantage, is that there are a lot of ways how to upgrade your Lenovo ThinkPad T14 Generation 1. You can extend the RAM thanks to the extra slot on the main board, and you can also swap the NVMe SSD drive. Both of these things can be done really easy. Another advantage, in my opinion, is that the keyboard is really nice, and if you need to change it, you don't need to disassemble the whole laptop. Instead, you can get the keyboard from the front. It's really easy and happens in just a few minutes. One more thing, speaking about advantages, is the really good speaker over here. It's in front of the computer, right above the keyboard, and the sound is pretty decent for a business laptop. Sometimes even the best things aren't perfect, and there are some minor disadvantages in ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 that we should mention. First of all, it's a little bit bulky compared to ThinkPad T14S. However, because of this, it has more connectors, which I really like. The second thing is that some people really want an external GPU in their laptops. And in this case, if you are looking for very similar laptop with NVIDIA GPU, have a look at ThinkPad P14S. It has the same chassis, same capabilities. However, it also has an NVIDIA GPU on the main board. Let's summarize what we've learned about ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 in this video. The laptop comes with Intel or AMD CPU. Go with AMD if you are looking for performance. However, in this video we reviewed a unit with Intel i5 CPU. It also features Intel AX2001 chip for Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.1, which is integrated on the main board. ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 comes with support for Thunderbolt 3. Although there are newer versions of Thunderbolt, this is still a good option if you're looking to attach various peripheral devices and several monitors while using the laptop on your desk. The integrated TPM20 chip on the main board of T14 Generation 1 allows you to use any modern operating system. Furthermore, the battery life is pretty good. I really like Lenovo ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 because there are a lot of options how to repair and upgrade it. I have covered these topics in my other videos. Without any doubts, my verdict is that Lenovo ThinkPad T14 Generation 1 is an awesome laptop, and I highly recommend you to buy it, especially now because you can find it as a second-hand item at a really good price. I have made several videos about it, so you can see how you can swap the battery, how you can even change the whole main board, change the keyboard, or just upgrade the RAM and the SSD. This laptop is really awesome. I enjoy using it. It doesn't have some features like the carbon laptops by ThinkPad, but it has everything an engineer and a developer needs. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, hit the like button, and stay tuned for new videos. Hope to see you soon.